Hundreds of protesters took to the streets of Bamako to demonstrate against the French military presence in Mali, calling for total withdrawal of French troops from the country. The protesters said France had encroached into its sovereignty, calling for its total withdrawal from the country. We are here for Mali. We are here to demonstrate our national sovereignty. Remind the whole world that sovereignty belongs to the people, and that those who have not understood this must get up to speed today. Because the transition for us today is a result of decades of mismanagement, misgovernance of our country, and bad partnership. It doesn't matter if France leaves or always stays. The point is that France is not the best suited to tell a country on the ground not to call on all its friends. There is a tense dispute between Mali and its key military partner France over reports Bamako could recruit Russian mercenaries as Paris reshapes its 5,000-strong counter-terrorism mission in the region.
All is set for the upcoming COP26 climate talks in Glasgow, UK, which will take place next week. It's expected that African leaders will use the summit to demand rich nations to deepen their pledges to fund the fight against climate change. Africa is the hottest continent, while Africa has never emitted emissions that would create climate change. Therefore, we hope that climate finance implemented within the framework of the COP are oriented towards adaptation so that we can design an economic development that is compatible with climate change. It is important to know that Africa will not accept to limit its economic development to accompany the fight against climate change. That is why we are asking for support, financial support, support in technology, support in capacity building. In 2009, rich countries first pledged to assemble $100 billion annually to help poorer nations, but this is yet to materialize. This is the negotiating basis for the upcoming talks in Glasgow. Today, the promise has become obsolete. It is no longer relevant, and yet developed countries are still unable to mobilize the $100 billion per year. Our view now is that we need to go much further than the $100 billion a year, which is not a goal of the Paris Agreement, because in the Paris Agreement it says that the $100 billion is a floor. For wealthy economies, the big focus will be on cuts in carbon emissions to try to restrict global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels.
Demonstrators in Sudan continued their protest Friday to denounce the military rule in the country. At least 9 people have been killed by security forces' gunfire, according to the Sudan's Doctor Committee and activists. At least 170 others have been wounded. It comes as the Sudanese general who seized power said the military he heads will appoint technocrat prime minister to rule alongside it within days. On Monday, the military leader dissolved the transitional government and detained Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok. Many government officials and political leaders in a coup condemned by the United States and the West. The military takeover came after weeks of mounting tensions between military and civilian leaders over the cause of pace of Sudan's transition to democracy. It has now threatened to derail that process, which has progressed in fits and starts since the overthrow of long-time autocrat Omar al-Bashir in a popular uprising 2 years ago.
The former Congolese Prime Minister Clément Mouamba passed away aged 77 in the St. Joseph Hospital in Paris, France, following a brief illness. Clément Mouamba, born in 1944 in CBT in the department of Lukumo, was a Congolese statesman. He served as an executive of the Bank of the Central African State and the Minister of Finance from 1992 to 1993, and later he was appointed as the Prime Minister. The former Prime Minister's government resigned on the 4th of May, just after President Denis Sassou Nguesso was sworn in for a fourth presidential term. Mouamba was said to have contracted the coronavirus and evacuated to Paris for further treatments.
Sudan's army ruler General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan said Friday that a technocrat prime minister would be named within a week as the Security Council called on the military to reinstate the transitional government soldiers toppled on Monday. Burhan made the remarks in an interview with the Sputnik news agency. In a unanimous statement Thursday, the Security Council expressed serious concern about the army power grab in the northeast African country and urged all sides to engage in dialogue. U.S. President Joe Biden said his nation stood with the demonstrators in Sudan. Monday's coup took place only hours after a U.S. Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa region departed Khartoum in a last-ditch effort to save the transitional government from collapse. Washington has since suspended millions of dollars in aid. International pressure has been piling on General Burhan to reverse the coup. He's described the army takeover as necessary to preserve the security of the state. He's blamed civilians for the friction that dominated the last days of the military-civilian government. The army has kept Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok under house arrest since Monday. On Friday, the army prevented a group of activists from accessing his residence. The takeover came after weeks of mounting tensions between the generals and civilian leaders over the course and pace of Sudan's transition to democracy. The capital Khartoum has been rocked by days of unrest and is bracing for major demonstrations on Saturday. More rallies and sit-down strikes are planned across the country. Roads have been barricaded by debris and burning car tires that have sent black smoke billowing into the sky, while most shops have been shuttered in a campaign of civil disobedience.